So welcome back to another episode of Wren's Wasteland Camp Reviews / Dumpster Fires of the Commonwealth. I figured I'd start off by explaining a couple things. So this is a flaming dumpster. It's not hard to make in here. In Game World, you'd have to actually use a merge to get this to go off and look halfway as decent as this does, and I've done it before, so yeah. In here, you can just pretty much plop things down and pull things over top of it, see? And then if I wanted to hide it, I would just bring up the foundations to match the level, and it would just kind of like magically disappear underneath it. So anytime anyone builds in their shelter and you hear me say they did something special, it's because it's hard work to do. Most things are not. You can get away with a lot of glitches and a lot of goofy stuff like these floating toilets, for instance. So I call things a dumpster fire in most of my videos whenever it's like a level 1 or lower on the scale that I use for judging camps. And I recently went to a camp, which is iPoo 24/7's camp, and you see right here I have added the flaming toilet to my thing because, well, yeah, might as well go ahead and add another mark of distinction. A flaming dumpster is, bad, but if you have a flaming toilet, well, that's just extraordinarily bad, and you've probably been eating too much um, spicy food. Just saying. Yeah, lay off the curry. Anyway, so here we go. This is what I judge camps on, basically. If you have a bathroom in your camp, even if it's something as simple as a toilet or one of these outhouses, I give you a point for that. If you use any one of the prefabs in here, any one of them, or any of the ones that I don't currently have displayed in here, I will give you 2 points for that. I judge you on your creativity, meaning I judge you on things like if you did make a flaming toilet or a flaming dumpster or anything really cool at your camp. I judge you based on your uh, how clever the design is, meaning if you've incorporated something in a way that I really haven't seen before, because you can be creative and still not be clever, if that makes any sense. And then I judge you on your decor. How you decorate the interior of your camp. If you've matched the carpets and the drapes, so to speak. But that's basically the criteria that I use when I judge camps. This, by the way, is inside one of my shelters, as you can tell. In the previous video, I was in here showing off all of these different prefabs. Since that video was made, there's a few more that's been added. Like, I think the space station diner thing. And also the little cookout vendor thing. So, there is that. Now then, I am going to jump out into the wasteland, take a look around, see if we can find any camps, and see how well they do on my scale. By the way, the highest point value you can get is 10. Each one of these things does not represent a point value, it just shows you the criteria to which I judge camps by. The reason why I judge by that criteria, because I give more points for creativity and being clever and the decor than I do for the other two. It really comes down to if you decided to build something that looks like a house, or if you decided to do something that looks like a museum, or even if you just decided to do something that is a warehouse for you to build your stuff in. I'm cool with all those things, but I'm not going to judge a warehouse on the same scale that I'm going to judge somebody that built a 3-bedroom house with a pool in the backyard that's made out of a lake that's radioactive on top of it, or the river. Or I'm not going to judge, say, somebody that used a prefab and didn't build anything other than the prefab, but that's it. I mean, and just stuck their workbenches in it. Because I've seen people do that with this one especially. They just stick a bunch of workbenches in it, maybe a bed, and throw some doors on it, and maybe throw a generator up top, and they're done. That's it. That's all they're going to build. Which is cool. I mean, it's their camp. They can do what they want to with it. But I walk around the wasteland looking at camps and trying to find builders and people that are cool, that are building stuff that's interesting and entertaining. And so I have a few criteria that I look for. And we're going to go do that now. So, see you in a bit. So here we are back in the wasteland. And we are right near... Where are we on the map? Oh, okay. So that's the Red Rocket Mega Stop right there, which is a workshop. Which, if you know my theory on building near workshops, if you're not going to take it, it's fine. If you're going to take it and try and use it, only do it on a private, because people can come in and destroy your camp if they take over your workshop, and you decide to fight them for it. Now, this camp in particular is Mixing Mama's camp, if I remember correctly. Mixed Mama 1031's camp, to be exact. Now, this camp has a prefab, and they did what a lot of people do, which is kind of treat this thing like a structure that can be floated. Which, I mean, it works. They got a bed in here. They built out some stuff out here. I'm doubting that they are gonna have anything great, but I could be wrong. And here, everything's priced pretty well, except for the Tinkerer's Workbench. I personally don't think you should price any of the workbenches. If it's something that people need for their camps, like that, because although some people may be able to find them relatively easy, others won't. Although I understand 5 caps is the minimum you should price anything, because it literally gives you nothing. So they have the charging station. Going in here, anything good? A bed. So here's hoping this is a new camp and they're just getting started building it. If it's not, and it's been here for a while, yeah, it's kind of poor. So I judge every camp on a scale of 1 to 10. I automatically give you 2 points if you have a prefab. They have one, so they got 2 points. But that's all I'm giving them is 2 points. This thing's not a dumpster fire, but it's really, really close. It's also, I'm hoping, something that they're just starting building. But, again, I don't know. I'm not them. I'm not their friend. I don't play with them. So, I judge on what's here and not what and only on what I know of the situation. The one problem I've got with this game is right over here. You can see it pretty easy. If you look off in the distance at the red rocket sign, right, that's real nice and clear. You can make it out really well. As you go into the other area on the other side of the street over there, that's where the LOD starts to fall apart and you don't see as well into the distance. The funny thing is, in nuclear winter, you could see better than this, probably because they compress the areas with the rings of fire and cranked up the detail and definition and the range. I kind of wish they would give this game a bit of an upgrade, maybe update the engine a little bit, try and force to get a little bit more distance out of it so you don't get as much texture popping. Because as you notice, whenever I spin the camera around in any way, shape, or form, you get textures that seemingly just kind of like plop into place, like somebody taking a dump in a toilet. Alright, so that's one camp. We'll go to another one over here, which is up on Seneca Rock, which is where I usually build at, and I have a camp there that I need to film. This guy is Weird Hammers Camp. So we'll go check him out and see what's here. populate in. So Mr. Weirdhammer has all of his vendors right here, which is roughly where most people are going to show up at. He's got some stuff that's priced a little bit nuts. Some stuff that's priced a little bit under. And one thing that I'll buy myself. This used to be a real sought after item by a lot of people. So if you need anything out of his inventory, like I did, by all means stop by and hit his camp up. He has not really adjusted the prices in any way, shape, or form. So if you need to come in and collect something like a decon shower for one of your other characters, or a gulper head, or anything like that, I would highly recommend doing so. His fixer plan's a little high, but going rate is somewhere between 2,000 to 7,000, so he's kind of sitting in the middle. Yeah, not terrible. Not great, but not terrible. So I'm gonna go ahead and head on in here and check this out.
The inspector.
So this is the brick tile set. God, I hate that child. The brick tile set and the original glass wall kit or greenhouse kit that we got. He's got it set up so you've got a view. I mean, it's always good to build for a view when you're building here. I like the fact that they use a spotlight from one of the newer things, and they've used power connectors from, you know, this up here. But my only thing is, if you're going to use things like power connectors and you're going to run cables and that kind of stuff, especially if you're going to use these floor things.
The decapitalists have invaded our camp. Only the inspector has what
Cover
it
them up
takes to
a
stop
bit.
them.
And when you're in a house, the other thing that I would suggest is don't use things like this right here. Because I don't know who in the hell would put barbed wire in their house on a stair rail. Although it is a good idea. In reality, you know, razor wire might be a better choice. Yep, razor wire. All the fun and excitement. But yeah, I mean, I get it.
Warning.
You gotta run your power
Union
some
violation
way.
detected.
But you're
Last recorded break was
better off
When you put a
by
magnifying glass to
900.
things,
running it
make super
exterior
hours
as much as
ago.
possible.
criminals.
But I understand. I mean, sometimes that's not possible. And sometimes the wires themselves can be an aesthetic element to a build. In this case, they're not. It's just kind of like he or she needed to get them here to power their various items and didn't really take into consideration the context to what they were building. You know, because at your house, I mean, you don't have wires running through your house in general that are like that. Usually they run inside the wall, or hell.
Mineral detection protocols.
Even if you do have some running in your house, you at least try and put a rug over top of them so you don't trip on them. It's kind of my point. But on a scale of 1 to 10 is how I judge every camp. This one didn't use any prefabs. They have done a heck of a job decorating, though. And it's in a location that's harder to build in than most. They have incorporated it as much as they can,
You approach the
even though they
inspector,
use Daphne
one of the
here
5 unstoppables.
as their preferred companion. But as you can tell, not a bad little camp. It's actually decorated really well, and they do have a full bathroom. Well, technically it's a 3-piece, but yeah, it's a bathroom. So they get a point for that. Off the bat, I'm going to give them a point
Galaxy someday.
for
Visit
the
some old
difficulty and the
friends.
location that they built in. I'm gonna give them points for like doing the layered foundations, because this is something that I recommend everybody learn how to do. I have a video on how to do that in my tutorial section if you'd like to find out how to build foundations that stagger like that, so you can do things like this person did, and like I've done at many of my own camps. So I would recommend check out Weird Hammer's camp if you get a chance. The this is one of the only 10 that I've ever really given on this show has been at this location, just so you know, in one of the previous episodes. This one here I'm giving a solid 8. If they didn't have all the wires ran inside of it, I would say it's probably a 9, to be honest. But yeah, I would give it a good solid 8. It would also help if they got rid of the kid. Just saying. But I get it. It's a relatively safe location. The only thing you've got to consider whenever you build a camp here or anywhere is your camp module is where your enemy, where you place it originally, is where your enemies are going to target when they spawn in. That's the location they'll go for. A lot of people don't realize that. Some people don't pay enough attention to notice it. Some people just have never even thought about it. They just throw down turrets all around the exterior of the camp like they're going to get attacked from the outside whenever the things will spawn interior-wise. Keep that in mind. But yeah, I would say this is a good solid 8. Alright, we'll go for one more and then we'll hop off this server. And because of where we're at, I'm going to go down here to... well, actually, because of where we're at, I can go pretty much anywhere on the map. Let's check out over here and see if there's anybody else over here. That one's mine. Actually, I'm going to go down here and check out Mutola's camp. Hopefully it's something cool, but I have a strong suspicion it's going to be a battle camp. If you don't know what a battle camp is, a battle camp is a camp that's built to set up to help you do daily fights or gain XP as fast as possible. I might be wrong in this case, but yeah, this is actually a full-blown house. I'll be damned.
If only Simon was still alive.
It's a good
He
place
would
for a
have
battle
loved to see
camp.
this place.
As you can tell, they've priced a few things, put a few things in here, but nothing too extravagant. I mean, the Meat Week flag is like literally 10 times what its asking price is, but I get that, it's an event. People price things for events based on availability after the event. I get it. Let's see here. And this is basically a warehouse slash personal museum, which, as I said earlier, I get why you build these things. I understand it. It's kind of a way of showing off the stuff that you've made, the stuff that you've acquired. It's kind of like the Vault O prefabs that I showed you. That's technically a museum.
Warning. Union violation detected.
All the weapons you
Last
collected, or
recorded
at least
break
the skins.
was
I recommend if you're going to do something like this, by the way, at
9,999
least
hours ago.
go ahead and get the 90 reduced weight versions of these guns if you're going to display them, just to show off like skins and things like that, because it goes against your inventory space. Now, I don't know if I would have used so many windows in my build. The difference in building is kind of funny. The upper windows up here are the double windows, and these you can't jump through. The lower windows down there, the single pane ones on the brick set, you can actually jump through. There's no actual glass in these, unless you go out of your way to add it yourself, which means layering windows, well, layering walls. But the garden tiles up here, I mean, I get why you build them up here, because it keeps critters from getting into them.
Sometimes I think
But,
I woke up in a
yeah.
pile of smoldering debris.
I really don't like the fact that people
And I
do
met
this
someone,
kind of thing.
a
I
stranger.
mean, it's different if you put
And
a
over
roof over
time,
top of it and you kind of
well,
make it look like an
that
actual
stranger isn't a
greenhouse.
stranger anymore
But when you
at
just
all.
do this, and I mean, all this is
I
just
don't
one
believe
wallpaper,
in
which
luck
is
or
kind of
fate or any of that.
Optimal
But
levels.
I do know that I wouldn't have changed a thing.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give you a guess what this is. It's not a 10. I mean, they built it themselves. It's all constructed well. It's, as I said, pretty much showing off the stuff that they can do and the stuff that they have. They've even had a fight or two here where something's been destroyed. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to go ahead and give this camp, let's just double check the back real quick before I give it a score. They got water that's actually in the water purifiers that are in the water versus anywhere else. So everything's not floating. They've got 2 different vaults put out.
All priority minerals will be collected.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this one a 5. It's not that it's a bad camp. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. But deco-wise and creativity-wise, it really isn't there. I mean, it is what it is. It does exactly what the guy wants it to, or the person wants it to, but it doesn't really do anything to inspire anybody except maybe a collector that, you know, is trying to get some of the magazines or something like that that they want to come here and trade with them. But it's a decent enough little camp. It's a little big. To be honest, it's about probably 4 times bigger than it needs to be to do the same job. But, yeah. Anyway, this has been Ren for Ren's Wasteland Camp Review / Dumpster Fires of the Commonwealth. It has been fun traveling with you today. Have a good time.